Okay, so we're learning how to wire wrap. I also have a little component here that has a simple loop. Okay, and that's exactly where we're going to start. So what I would do is I would grab a piece of wire, and you're always going to just cut your length to size. And I like to warm my wire up. It's always a good idea, guys, to warm up your wire. You can also, getting further down the line, investing in your tools, get some nylon jaw pliers. It helps to straighten your wire out there, as you can see. It's got some funky little bends in it here and there. So you can do that as well. Okay, so wire wrapping, guys, what you're going to do is you would put your round nose in your wire, and you're going to want to always kind of eyeball how much do you want to wrap, and that's how much wire you leave above your plier. So I'll go about a third of the way down, and I'm putting it about right here in my plier, okay? And that also depends upon the size loop that you want to make, right? So I'll put it about right there. We'll just make a small little loop, and we'll put a bend in it. So we have our L now. We take the top wire, we're going to pull it around until it touches the front of our plier, rotate our plier away from us, continue to take that small piece of wire and put it behind the tool. So you have your L, just like that. Okay. And then what you'll do is you will then begin to take the small wire, and we're going to wrap it around the longer piece of wire. And in order to do that, I'm just holding the wire in my round nose here, and I'm going around laying, to do a clean wrap, each piece of wire below the previous wrap. I'm just laying each one. You see that? You just wrap it around as many times, as many wraps as you want. Then you can kind of come in with your chain nose. And again, this is 20 gauge, and you can kind of take that spiral that we just wrapped, squeeze it together if you need to. We'll trim our excess. And then we'll go in with our chain nose. And then that little burr that's sticking up, we always want to tuck that in. We don't want that to poke you or to scratch your gouge, because it is wire and it will. So there we have. And again, you know, we're just dealing with wires, so things move around. That's fine. You can put your pliers in there, do what you need to do to make things look perfect, just manipulating the wire. And that is a very simple clean loop. It's what we call a clean wrap. And now I would want to take, and let's say I want to make some components like this, but I want to attach them to each other so they're going to stay nice and secure, eliminating the need for jump rings, right? So when you wire wrap and connect components wire wrap to each other, they're not coming apart. So it really gives you a lot of security. So let's say I want to do just exactly that. Okay, so, or I have a dangle bead. Like I just did a simple loop on one dangle bead or component, doesn't matter. Same concept. So I fed my bead on, right? So I'm making my component. And what I'm going to do this time now with my wire wrapping, in order to connect this component to the next component, is I will do what I just did to begin. I will put my pliers just above the bead. Okay, and I'm going to make my right bend. And then we're going to take that wire, again, same thing, wrap it around towards us to face the front of the plier. We're going to rotate and put the pliers away from us, still focusing on that wire, and put it behind us. Just like that. Now, before we wire wrap that, we intend to do a wire wrapped component and continue to connect them. So we'll go ahead, grab your pliers, and just pop that loop open, just like that. You would slide your next component on. It will fall just like that right inside your loop. Then you can go in there and close your loop. So just press your pliers over the loop to close it, just like that. And now we can, holding the loop within our pliers, we'll go ahead and take that wire and we'll twist it around, again, laying each wrap below the previous wrap to match up the bottom to be a clean wrap, or until it meets the bead, or until you fill up your gap of space there. Okay, and now I've done just that, and now what we'll do is trim that off again, trim our excess. We will tuck in, and I'll be very careful with being very close to this glass bead here. And now what we have is two wire wrapped components that are connected to each other. And there's no way for them to come off, so they make for really good secure links. We're going to grab our round nose. We'll put a bend in the wire away from us, so we have an L. And now we're going to take and grab this wire, pull it up and around to where it's hugging our pliers. Open your plier and rotate it away from you, taking that same wire, focusing on that same piece of wire. And there we have our L. Okay. And now what we can do is we can open up that loop. We can feed on our chain and just slide it right down. It'll fall into the loop. We'll go ahead and, again, using our pliers, press that wire down to close the loop, making sure that our chain stays within the loop. We'll put our pliers over the loop, and then we'll take this little wire and we can wrap it around however many times we want. Now we can do a messy wrap, which means just exactly that. It's just kind of messy, which is a really cool look. I do messy wraps quite often. Okay, and so now we have just done a wire wrap with our chain secure on that, so that's not going anywhere. And we would tuck in our burr. With our chain nose, you're just going to press on the wire until it kind of tucks in there for you. Okay, and now we would want to add, let's say, a bead. Okay, and then maybe because maybe we're just doing just whatever, right? So we might want to take and add another piece of chain onto the other part of the wire wrapped loop. So we wire wrapped and did a messy wrap, put our chain right on. Now we added a bead. Now we'll grab our round nose again. We'll go ahead and simply place them a little bit above the bead. We'll make a right bend. We will grab that wire, pull it around to hug the pliers to the front, open and rotate your plier away from you, focusing on that wire, push it to the back, and then we will grab our chain nose, we'll open our loop up, and we'll slide our chain on until it falls just right there in our loop, just like that. And then we would put our chain nose over that loop, press the wire down to close the loop. Okay, and now we will put our chain nose over that loop and we'll wrap that around, again doing a messy wrap. And we'll trim our excess and tuck in our burr. And now we have a messy wrap on both sides, directly connected to our chain. So we're going to go ahead and put our right bend in, grab our wire, pull it around, rotate the plier, put that small piece of wire behind your plier. Okay. And then we open up our loop, and then we feed our component on, let it drop in the loop, grab our chain nose, close the loop, and now we'll do our clean wraps. So we're going to just do a couple of clean wraps, laying one right below the previous around that longer piece of wire. And now we can squeeze that spiral that we just made together. Just like that. Okay, and then we'll trim the excess. And then we'll tuck in that burr. And now we have our pendant wire wrapped, and what we want to do is connect it to our necklace, right? So we just go ahead and put your round nose in there, put it right above your loop where you are, your wraps. We will do the same as we've been doing. Make that right bend, go ahead and pull that wire around the front of the tool, pivot the tool away from you, and then go ahead, continue to push that wire behind your tool. And then now we'll take that wire and we'll continue to fill up that small little gap with a couple of clean wraps. So let's go with 1 and then 2. And then we'll trim that off. And we can tuck that in. And now you have a loop that is wire wrapped on your pendant that you can now take this and string it right on your beading wire, and it will not come off because it's all wire wrapped together. And so you don't have to worry about it falling off of your necklace, and then just simply edge your components or do whatever you're going to do with that component. And then the same concept, guys, would certainly apply for a clasp or really anything, any component that you're using. So that is a little insight and a bit of a deep dive into wire wrapping 101 basics. I believe an essential technique that you need to know in jewelry making. And I hope you all enjoyed that tutorial. And don't forget to give me a like and thumbs up. Until next time, friends, be blessed.